It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolosha.
Look up on the wall, there on the floor, under the pillow, behind the door.
It wasn't pretty, that's for sure. But the Tigers were winners over Temple, and now they're tied for first in the AAC. Here's something. If I'd have given you betting odds on this, I have no idea what they would be. There is a 5-way tie for first at 3-1 in the American. I'll get into that in just a second, who they are. There's a 5-way tie for first, 3-1 in the SEC. Vandy lost last night. Couple of other upsets. So no one is undefeated in league play in either league, and the 5 teams that are at the top are all 3-1. I'm not sure I've ever seen that happen before. That is absolutely crazy. Jaw Watch continues in Europe. I guess in Miami, too. The word yesterday, both of the Memphis publications had stories about Ja buying a house in Miami, $3 million and change, which is in Miami a small house. Nothing like the 2 he's got needs here. And there was a little altercation. Not all. I guess I could say heated argument. No pushing or anything like that between Ja and Vince Williams. We'll chat with Pete Pranica, the TV voice of the Grizzlies, here in about 5 minutes. And then Jarvo is actually in Europe. I don't know. He might have witnessed this yesterday. So he's going to join us from Europe in our final segment of the day. And, of course, in between, Bill Bender from the Sporting News. We will talk college football title. Bill Bender's written several stories. And this just breaking. And this is heartbreaking. This, though, to me, because of the way we are in society now with gambling and the ease with which you can do it on your phone, these stories are going to probably continue. I hate to say it, but I believe it. This now breaking 20 men have been charged with bribing and involving 39 players from 17 Division I schools to fix 29 college basketball games starting in 2022. The players each got from $10,000 to $30,000 to point shave. That doesn't seem like much when some of these guys are getting millions to play. Would you put that in jeopardy for $10,000? I don't know. So there's been 2 names so far, and they're both from New Orleans, of all places. Sedquavius Hunter and DeQuavian Short. They have been named. There's another player named, but he was not charged. I don't know how much light will be shed or how quickly it will be shed on all the other 37 players. But this is huge. 20 guys, 39 players, 17 different schools, 29 games they got proof of. Tough stuff. All right, let's go back to the Tigers and their win, which, you see this. It's going to be the truth in both leagues. Teams that win on the road are the teams that are going to end up being the champions of their leagues. Memphis is 1-1 on the road, and they took on a team that lost for the first time. They had already won a road game, and that's Temple. There was some good play to this. There was some sloppy play to this. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact it's a conference game, and there was a lot of defensive effort. So here's the biggest positive. The Tigers played with an intensity that we have not seen since the Bahamas or Baylor, in my estimation. They came out with purpose. They played hard. We saw the 12th different starting lineup in 16 games, which is weird in its own right. The bad news is Aaron Bradshaw goes down Just under 8 minutes to go in the first half. Bradshaw finished in playing 9 minutes and 56 seconds. He had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and a block. But here's what he did that's not on the stat sheet. He played his rear end off. For the last 3 games, Bradshaw has looked promising. I'm not going to say looked like the number 2 player coming out of high school from New Jersey that went to Kentucky. But I am saying he looked like the guy who had promised to become that guy. He looked like he had turned the corner. He went up for a lob pass that was a little bit further than maybe it should have been, but the worst part is he got shoved in the back. He came down on his right leg. You could see the leg buckle. What it was, apparently, from Penny after the game, twisted ankle, hyperextended knee. Nothing structurally bad, just soreness pain that he will have to deal with. When he comes back, I don't know. If it were me, because he might be able to come back Sunday, but I wouldn't play him on Sunday because you're playing Texas San Antonio. And I don't mean any disrespect to the game at all, but Texas San Antonio is 0-4 in the American. They have won, how many games have they won? They're 4-13. Those 4 wins have probably come from biblical studies, some sort of Christian. They may be one of the worst teams in America. So if there's ever been a game, and it's a home game, if you were in San Antonio, it might be a different story. But if there's ever been a game where you don't really need a player, this might be that game. Let him rest. You got plenty of others. If Thedford can come back, let him come back. But if both have to rest, that is quite okay. Back to the Grizz. We're going to talk to Pete here in a minute. It wasn't just the house or Vince Williams. It's, can these problems be solved if there is no trading partner? I'm curious what Pete and what Jarvo will think about that. This is big, this European Showcase, 62 countries and territories that are attending. And yeah, you'd like for Memphis to do well. And now it's important for them to do well because the Clippers have won 4 games in a row. L.A. is now literally 1/2 game behind Memphis for that 10th spot. So we will get into that in just 1 second here. Real quick, looks like the Giants are going to get John Harbaugh. Oh. So Harbaugh's deciding to take on the toughest market in America. But if he turns that around, which I think he can, my gosh, is he ever going to be a star? There's no doubt about that. As I sit in the Family Leisure Studios, you know, we finally have a new sale. Yeah, I'm really pleased about this. It's big. They're always really good sales. That's for certain. But you know, now this particular sale, it's so big I can't even tell you some of the numbers. You got to go in to see them to believe them. Yeah, that's the truth. There's a few things I can tell you about. Like, you can get spas as low as $99 a month, plus you can get $1,000 in upgrades with every spa purchased. There's another special deal. You can get an $8,000 spa for only $159 a month. Special financing is available. That's the whole key. There's so many deep discounts that I'm not allowed to tell you the specifics. But I'm telling you, get there, find out from Billy, find out from Lindsay just what's going on. That's Family Leisure, where there's always something great that you will find. Pete Predica, we find him at home. Oh, my goodness. He's not in Europe. By the way, the whole Stat Crew is in Europe, so Memphis had to use old SIDs, and they did a great job last night to man the desk on all the stats. Pete, it's got to be weird for you. When's the last time, if ever, you had a little, not all-star break, but mid-season break? Good morning.
Good morning. Can't remember. You know, but I mean, they're national exclusives on Prime, so by league rule we can't do them. And you know, there was no role for me, and wasn't included in the traveling party. Which that's not a complaint. That's just logistics of it. There was no reason for me to be there because there was no role for me. So, it is really odd, and it's not only missing the games, but games that are half a world away. It's very, very strange to be so physically disconnected from the team.
Speaking of disconnect, your thoughts on this Ja thing? The rumors yesterday that he's bought a house in Miami. We know that would be his preference, that's where he'd like to go since the Grizzlies announced that they were up for discussions or listening to offers on Ja. There was the interaction with him and Vince Williams yesterday. I know you weren't there, but I'm sure you have seen the video of all of that. Your take on that, and if there is not a deal that is palatable to Grizzlies front office people, is there a way this could be resolved?
Man, a lot to unpack there. Yeah. Buying a house in Miami, look, I've looked at real estate in the Midwest. That doesn't mean I'm taking the Detroit Pistons job. I mean, it could be an investment property, could be a lot of things, could be a coincidence, could be whatever. I mean, a lot of people look at real estate in Florida. So, I don't really attach any, and that was 3 weeks ago. I don't attach any credence to that. Clearly, Ja's unhappy. I go back to media day, and Zach Kleiman said this is a big year for Ja Morant. They were hoping for big-time production, big-time availability. That has not happened. And look, any general manager in the NBA is not doing their due diligence if they don't listen to offers. I think heretofore, if anybody called Zach Kleiman, it would be an immediate click. Now maybe you listen a little bit more. So, if there is not a deal in place, I think the fence mending would be a real challenge because clearly he's not happy, and I don't know if the unhappiness is, I don't know where the unhappiness is really directed. And so, without really knowing the intricate dynamics of it, I don't know what the fix would be. It would be irresponsible for me to comment on trying to fix something when I really don't have the inside information on what's going on.
This is sheer speculation, but it appears to me, and it's been written about by a couple of other folks, that his dissatisfaction or his relationship with front office began to deteriorate when Jaren Jackson Jr. got extended, and he did not, though he was eligible for that extension.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. But again, you're looking at, the availability wasn't there. And so
True.
it was, look, you got to sing for your supper. And I think that's probably, I understand where the front office is coming from. And there are always different theories about, are you paying somebody for what you think they will do, or are you rewarding them for something they have done? And, the Grizzlies felt that, hey, we need one more, we need to see a really good year out of you and be available and be super productive, and then we'll talk.
Well, it's the classic example of what your best ability is availability. And that is something that is absolutely proven fact that he has had an issue with that because of injuries or other different personal things that have come up. So I think it's fair by Zach Kleiman to wait another year, but I can understand how this kid, who's still a kid, had his feelings hurt. It's weird. The other weird thing that happened involving trades or proposed trades came from the agent of LeBron James, who said, Austin Reeves really should be made available because I think he didn't like LeBron becoming the third option in L.A., and that Jaren Jackson Jr. should be the trading partner for the Lakers because they could use help up front for Luka and for LeBron. It was interesting the way that came about with an agent really talking, and, I don't know if LeBron's even denied that was just the agent speaking and not him, but an agent speaking usually means that's what his client is thinking. Austin Reeves is from around here. I don't think that'd be a good trade for the Grizz. Where's your bigs?
Yeah, exactly. That's irresponsible by an agent to start floating that stuff out there. I didn't take too kindly to it, and it's not just because it's Jaren Jackson Jr. Just sometimes people should just be quiet. But to your point, I think LeBron is a little put out that he is not the headliner there in LA anymore. And you think of great players through their careers that, Vince Carter ended up being basically a role player. Guy's a Hall of Famer. LeBron doesn't want to go that route. LeBron still wants to be, I think, the focus. Austin Reeves is having an incredible year, now sidelined by injury. And Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the world. Not saying that LeBron isn't, but Luka's the man in LA right now. And the fact that LeBron isn't, I think there's some irritation there.
Yeah. I marvel at LeBron. I think the great players. Michael Jordan did the same thing. He adapted his game. He wasn't what he used to be, so he sort of became an inside player. Remember that? He bulked up a little bit. LeBron, I just don't think his ego will allow him to become an adaptable role player. He doesn't even want to be the third option, let alone down the line being a rebounder, screen setter, whatever that might be.
Yet at the same time, you can look at certainly what he did against the Grizzlies when the Grizzlies were out there, and you're like, yeah, he's legitimately a prime option still at the age of, what was he, 41?
Yes.
So there's no, and I think probably where the disconnect comes from is he feels I can still do this, and J.J. Redick may be looking at it in a slightly different fashion, and a player and a coach not connecting on certain things. Who would have ever thought that could ever happen?
No. All right, these European games in Germany today and in London on Sunday are really a European showcase. There's 62 different countries and territories that are actually attending these two events, which is pretty astonishing. What do you think is the reason the NBA is doing this regular season game in both these places? What is their goal with all of this?
Well, Adam Silver has talked very openly about creating some type of European league that it's not like you would necessarily expand the NBA into Europe because the logistics would really be an issue, but to create some type of NBA branded league or affiliated league in Europe. And clearly the enthusiasm that the rest of the world has for NBA basketball proves that potentially could happen in the next couple of years. So I think it's a test bed. Can these cities do their arenas? Do they hold up? Can they put on the same type of game presentation? Can be the same type of good host that FedEx Forum can be? So, it's like when the Olympics go to a particular site, they have what they call the test games. And they'll run competitions just to make sure that the venue works properly. And this is a measuring stick, I think, for the popularity of the NBA in Europe, and also the viability of these cities as maybe potential homes for NBA-branded European teams.
Yeah, I'm curious. You say that they wouldn't expand there, but you know what? If the NBA, I'm just thinking out loud here, if the NBA purchased, trying to remember the type of airplanes that used to go faster than the speed of sound?
Concords.
The Concords. If the NBA got a Concorde, and then that was the charter just for the team that was going to play in Europe. If you did in London or Paris or Berlin, I have no idea how Berlin would hold up, but I imagine between London or Barcelona, because they love basketball in Spain, I don't know that couldn't work.
Well, it would be really hard. I think the Players Association would have a real hard time with. I mean, the Concorde's an obsolete airplane, and there's no plane maker that is going to put together a supersonic plane because there's no demand for it in the commercial market. But setting all that aside, I'll put my pilot's hat on aside. I think what Adam is looking at is you would have a European league, and then maybe the in-season tournament now isn't simply stateside NBA teams, but now you bring the European teams over here, or some of the teams go over there, and maybe you have a group play over in Europe, and you integrate the European teams with the NBA teams in the Emirates NBA Cup. I'm just spitballing things here, but I think
I like that.
But Adam looks at this as being, hey, let's expand the brand. Clearly, there's a demand for NBA basketball overseas. Let's dip into it. And, media rights being what media rights are right now, and what Prime and NBC Peacock has paid, there's probably a lot of money that could be made if you could do something in Europe.
I would see that, and you'd even have the American television rights that would probably go through NBC and Peacock and all the rest. My question, though, would be how will Europe accept that? They've already got basketball leagues, and they've got several different divisions and levels of basketball leagues. So are those people there who are already in the business just going to go, oh, okay, come on in, NBA?
Well, and I'm a big soccer guy, so there's so many competitions over there. It's crazy how many different things they have. But if you were able to get 6 teams and say they can still play in their leagues, but then we're going to create this miniature league or this smaller league within Europe that these games might count in NBA standings. I mean, Arsenal, for example, that's my football club. They're involved in like 3 competitions other than the Premier League.
Right.
So there are models for this, and Adam Silver is a big European soccer fan, so I know that he's been studying this and probably looking to European football as the model.
Interesting. We'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, these 2 games with Orlando, they're suddenly important with postseason implications. We are halfway through here, and the Clippers have won 4 in a row. They're only a half a game out. So these games with Desmond Bain and Orlando and Wagner, by the way, the Wagner brothers on Orlando, they're going to be the home team, I think, tonight or this afternoon when they play in Berlin. But there's some immediacy now to these games.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it takes on a little bit of a different tenor knowing that Zach Edey's not going to be reevaluated for another 6 weeks.
Oy, that's terrible.
And that's a major blow to the Grizzlies.
And Pippen and Brandon Clark not available for 6 weeks. They're probably going to play in 6 weeks, but there's a lot of games in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, you do have the All-Star break in there, but it definitely does put you in a situation. And now, question would be, Christian Coloco had a second 10-day expire and when the team went over to Europe, and now that you're going to be missing Zach Edey for even more time. Does that open the door for them to sign another hardship exemption? Would it be with Coloco or would it be with somebody else? I mean, that's something that I don't have any inside knowledge of. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to need another big because you don't have any right now.
Coloco was pretty good, too. I thought he did a decent job.
Yeah, very much so. So that's gonna be a decision Zach Kleiman's got to make, and how do we restock, because outside of Jock Landale you don't have another center.
Right. This is a weird year. We had all those injuries in the preseason where stars are not out like Jason Tatum, and then last night alone you had Flagg and Brunson and Garland all get injured. They may be out for some time. I don't know if I ask you this every year because I can't remember, but it seems to me like it's worse this year than it's been. Is that true? Do you have any kind of theory?
I don't have the solid numbers on it, but I will tell you, having talked to a lot of people around the league, everybody's playing faster. They're putting more strain on their bodies, and training camps are ridiculously short. Okay? Even when Lionel was with the Grizzlies, so it's not all that long ago, you might have a week-long, almost 10 days, and there would be 2-a-days. You really had to, and I've talked to Brevin about this extensively, in his day, training camp was how you broke down your body so that you were ready for the 82-game season. The Grizzlies training camp this year was 3 days in Nashville. That's it. There are limits by the CBA what training staffs can work with players during the off season. Okay? So you have guys playing faster. I don't know if their bodies are ramped up properly to take on the stress. At one point we had 11 referees out with soft tissue injuries this year. I talked to Ed Malloy, who was the crew chief at the last game, the Brooklyn game, and he said, we're just running so fast and changing direction so quickly. He said, I planted my foot and I felt a twinge in my calf, and I said, okay. And he was out for 7 weeks. So everybody wants to play fast, but I don't know that the players I don't know that their bodies are really ready for the pace at which these teams are playing right now.
Sounds like they need to rethink the length of training camp and also maybe how they are treated all year round. And maybe there should be more availability for workouts and rehab and treatment on a regular basis for the 12 months of the year.
Yeah, because I don't think shortening the season, I don't know that that's really the answer, because we had an 82-game season. We haven't had these types of injuries. It's the way the game is being played now, and yet we have all the science that should get guys more ready, but yet for whatever reason they're not. So there are some definite issues, I think, that need to be addressed with player care. And like I said, we're seeing it. Players are seeing it with referees, that this game is being played so fast that it's almost, I think we're maybe taxing the upper limits of the body's ability to deal with the game the way it's being played.
Maybe we're going to have hockey shifts in the end. I don't know if they continue to play this hard. Thank you, Pete. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk next Thursday.
Sounds good.
That's our man, the voice of the Grizzlies on television. That is Pete Pranica. He's brought to you by ATC Fitness. That's 18 locations, all here in Memphis, family-owned and operated. You never have to sign a contract. Always the latest equipment. Like, you want to know if there's a massage thing or a hydro thing. They've got everything that's always up to date. It's always clean as could be. 18 locations. Did I say that? Open 24/7. ATC Fitness. Exercise your right to look good. We take the quick break. When we come back, we're headed, I think, to Columbus. I know he's in an airport. Bill Bender, president of the College Football Writers Association and the senior college writer for the Sporting News when it comes to college football. He's going to join us in just a minute right here on Wallow and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Cleanliness is next to impossible unless you call Hilo Commercial Services. For 15 years, Hilo's dedicated team has been cleaning offices throughout the Mid-South. Hilo's janitorial services are customized to your business. Clean once, quarterly, or ongoing, and get the JRD guarantee. We clean until you're satisfied. Hilo Commercial Services, the biggest and the best in the Mid-South. Visit MrCleanTeam.com. That's MrCleanTeam, MrCleanTeam.com for Hilo Commercial Services.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Maybe this is you too. There is enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It's amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why Medi-Share is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and Medi-Share is proven. And yeah, you could save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Here's the number. They're easy to talk to. 877-64-BIBLE. That's 877-64-BIBLE.
Air. We breathe it naturally. Simple, right? Not so fast. The air you breathe could be hazardous to your health. Don't guess. Be sure with a phone call to the Memphis Mold Inspector, the only licensed mold assessor in the Mid-South. Call the Memphis Mold Inspector to check the air quality inside your home and office. Protect babies, pets, new homes, old homes, employees, friends, loved ones, and you. Just call 901-292-7788 for clean air and peace of mind. 901-292-7788 for the Memphis Mold Inspector.
Rebel Nation, get the latest on everything Ole Miss sports with the Cannon Motors of Mississippi Rebel Yell Hotline. Join Rebel insiders Chuck Rounsville, Yancey Porter, and Gary Darby Monday nights at 6 as they break down the latest with the Rebels, along with even more insight from special guests. Rebel Yell Hotline, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WHBQ.
Stay up to date with everything going on in Ole Miss athletics with Rebel Yell Hotline every Monday night from 6 to 7 on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Now back to Wallow and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo, Radio Gaga.
In some airports, somewhere on the way to Miami, Florida, the Hard Rock Stadium, the national title game on Monday, Miami and Indiana. There's Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Good morning. I bet you're excited as could be.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm great. No question. I'm excited. I'm excited about that particular game. We'll get into the particulars in just a minute. But there's a big date coming up on January the 23rd. The College Football Playoff Committee, the bowls, the ESPN contracts, all could be up for grabs. They could be extended a year, delayed a year. They could come up with a concept of 16 teams in the playoff, 24 teams in the playoff. Bill Bender, Bill Nostradamus, tell me what you think's going to happen a week from tomorrow.
I think we'll stay at 12. I mean, hopefully we go to 16, but I think we'll still be at 12 because, there's too much back and forth unless the Big Ten concedes and wants to go to 16. I spoke with ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips this week. He wants to go to 16. He put that out there. So, but with logistics and as you know, these things don't happen overnight, right? Like we didn't go from 4 to 12 overnight. We didn't go from the BCS to 4, etc. So I think it'll take a little bit longer.
Do you think if they stay at 12, this would just be a 1-year delay?
Sorry, I literally sneezed. I was trying to say hit the mute button. But no, I think, I think we're going to go to 16 sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
It just because the automatic birth, you get more teams involved. And when I talk to Jim Phillips, it becomes a numbers game. You still protect the group of 5, which you and I are an advocate of.
Well, great, because I was going to say alleviate my fears, because I'm worried if they go 16 or 24 that the automatic qualifier for the group of 5 or now group of 6 is going to go away.
Yeah, and I hope they don't. I want them to keep the group of 5 in. Rather now, if it's 1, and you just protect the 1, and then if that's fine. Right, they at least get a place at the table.
Yeah, I'm okay with just 1. Yeah. I mean, the reason there were 2 this year was just because the ACC screwed themselves up.
The compromise I would do is, if they're ranked outside the top 16, they still get in. But then there's always that opportunity where maybe you have a year where, back in the BCS era, Boise State and TCU were really good. If the American Conference has 2 really good teams, say one goes 13-0, and then somebody from the MAC is good enough, why not? I think playoff access is important. Otherwise, if you don't protect them, you might as well tell the G6, which I guess it is now, to go do their own thing. I mean, wouldn't that be what you do? And I don't want to see that happen.
I don't either, because nobody cares. I hate to say it, because I think there's a place for the FCS. Look at how hard those guys play, and they're getting scholarships too. I would, but nobody really pays attention to that, do they? I mean, I don't know what the TV numbers are, but they're minuscule compared to what we see with the college football playoff.
Yeah, I do, like, football junkies like me are going to watch the D2 and the D3 and the FCS championship
D3
game, and they're
was
great
incredible.
They are, but I still think, the American Conference, the MAC, the Conference USA Sun Belt, it's from a status standpoint and the television dollars and the media attention. And, it's not like I like Nick Saban a lot. I didn't like when he made the AAA comparison simply because what's Memphis's AAA team called?
The Redbirds.
Yeah, they don't play the Reds or the Cubs. Right? Like they play AAA teams during the season. Ohio University goes to Ohio Stadium. Memphis played how many Power 4 schools this year? That's why I didn't like that analogy at all.
Just Arkansas, which they beat.
They won.
Well,
yeah.
I guess they actually played 2 because they lost to NC State in the bowl game. Unfortunately, they had players opt out and they had no coaches. They had some coaches, but their main coaches on the offensive side were gone.
Yeah, and I'm off this morning. I didn't know the Redbirds. We live in Columbus. We have the Clippers up here.
Oh, yeah,
they used to be the Yankees. They used to be the Yankees team. Now they moved on to Cleveland.
I didn't even realize that the Clippers were no longer Yankees affiliates. So we've both got knowledge today when it comes to minor league baseball. I love sometimes irony and how funny it can be. You wrote a story about Miami and the ACC and the divvying up of money. So the greedy guys in that conference, Clemson and Florida State, all were trying to use their clout because they had been so successful in previous years. They didn't want to share their money from postseason. Now they don't make postseason. Here's Miami in the college football championship game. I believe that means $20 million, and they don't have to give them a penny. I love it. I know you wrote a story about it, and I know all the other ACC schools are now very upset about this.
Well, that's the thing. Jim Phillips said they weren't. They're like, good. And it incentivizes winning. And why not keep it if you earn that? I think I like this, and I think it's an innovative way of doing it. Miami pockets $20 million for this, and they deserve that for making that run. I don't mind this measure at all. I think this is part of the settlement that got Clemson and Florida State to drop their lawsuit against the ACC. And as far as like those kind of incentives go, isn't that fair in some ways? I mean, they're the ones that did the work, and they're the ones that have done that, and it incentivizes other football programs to do a good job. Now, some of that money, I guess you could distribute it to the other schools, but I mean, you think Ohio State likes sharing with the Big Ten when they accomplish what they accomplished?
Well, what is Indiana getting? Miami's getting 20, and I think Indiana's share is $1.5 million. Am I right?
I mean, if I'm Indiana, I'm thinking, man, why can't we do it the way I would go the other way, right, Dave? Like, I'm thinking, why can't we do it the way those guys do it?
Well, I for this year, yes, but there's other years where you getting money, like if you're Northwestern or Iowa, even, or any of those schools that don't, like Indiana in the past. At least they were always getting money.
Right, but I think you have to earn that money in this new model where there's more teams making the playoffs, and if you're just sitting there as the worst team in the SEC or the ACC, now the landscape's changed too, where we're talking about Vanderbilt winning 10 games or Indiana obviously making this championship run. Northwestern was 7-6 this year, and they just hired Chip Kelly. So I mean, I think there's room for success stories like that.
Do you think, honestly, that the Big Ten or the SEC will go to this model?
I would consider it. I mean, if I were them. So, again, I think this is one of the things that the ACC a couple years ago was on, not life support, but very threatened. You had two major football brands try to leave. And then you make these changes, and they turn out to be pretty innovative. I mean, they're on a roll. The ACC had a really good bowl season. If Miami wins, they'll have the best record among the Power Four conferences. You have the incentives we just talked about. You have the replay that they brought into our living room. So nobody can say, hey, the ACC has a vested interest in putting this school through, because we're literally watching the replays in live action. So I think Jim Phillips, as far as I can tell, had a really good year.
Well, I agree, and all those experts that said Miami didn't belong there, I guess now they can't really make that statement because Miami's looked pretty good. The game with Ole Miss, what a classic that game was. Your thoughts on that, and also how surprised you were with the way that Indiana just destroyed Oregon.
Yeah, that was a great game, a great college football game. Miami and Ole Miss, they both teams got up and down, and the end was great. Trinidad Chambliss makes the plays, and then Miami with Carson Beck is composed, and they nearly gave that thing back with a bunch of penalties, but you got to give Carson Beck credit in that instance. So sets that end up. And then the other one, I mean, you could argue that the game was over after one play. I mean,
I could, but I wouldn't say that because I got to give Oregon credit. We know we have the pick six. They march right down the field and score again, but they just made so many mistakes you couldn't overcome.
That was the first of many mistakes for them that night. And obviously, in this Indiana team, and I will say this going into Monday night, when in the 4 games where they were challenged, they averaged less than 4 yards per carry. If they can run it on you and bully you with the running game, it's a long night. And it's kind of what they did to Oregon in that game. And, they're a really good team. Fernando's not throwing too many incompletions. initially I had them winning big, but, Dave, the more I think about it, I think Miami's going to hang around. I think it's going to be an awesome atmosphere with, the ticket prices speak for themselves. So I think we're going to have a really good game on Monday night.
Well, that's interesting because you've already written a story. I read it where the prediction's not that close. So are you rethinking your stance, Bill Bender?
Well, I'm keeping it at 31-19 because it's in print, but I'm second guessing myself is what I'm telling you. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami hung around. Now, you can't put Indiana in this conversation with the greatest teams of all time, like LSU, Alabama, Georgia, if you didn't have some confidence that you thought that they were going to win the game.
I think this Indiana team, though, for this year, is definitely the most complete team. I mean, they're really good on offense. You just said they can run the ball. The Heisman Trophy winner, he's thrown more touchdowns than incompletions in these playoffs. That's incredible. Their defense, we saw the pick six, we saw a bunch. How about special teams? They blocked a punt that became points. I mean, they're just a complete team.
Yeah, they don't make mistakes. They're experienced. They're old. They do everything right. Not to say that Miami can't. In order for them to change that, they're going to have to get Fernando Mendoza. They're going to have to land that defensive pressure that only had one sack against Ole Miss is really going to have to turn up against Indiana. They're going to have to stop the run. They're going to basically have to have the same playbook that they followed in order to beat Ohio State, which, that was run the ball, milk the clock, harass the quarterback. And if the final score of this game is 20-17, then if you told me that final's 20-17, I'd say Miami probably won. If it's 27-20 or 30-24, something like that, I'd tell you, Indiana probably won that game.
All right, but I got you down for 31-19 because you said it's in
good
print.
enough.
Last thing here, I got to ask you, would you have called Pat P.I. On the last play, the Hail Mary from Chambliss into the end zone in the Miami Ole Miss game?
So as a experienced youth basketball ref, I may have swallowed the whistle and just ran out of the gym. But I think it was pass interference. I don't understand why we have. I understand that's the thinking, that it's game point. You don't call that, and I know basketball too. A lot of people do that, but if it's a foul, it's a foul. If he's holding him the entire way down the field, could you imagine if we would have had one more play? I think it would have been from
the 20.
On the 20 with one chance to win the game. That would have been pretty incredible.
It was pretty incredible anyway. It was a great game, the classic for sure. I hope you get a classic in Miami. Safe travels, my friend. Next week we'll talk about the game and some storylines for next year. We appreciate you.
Hey, anytime, Dave. Thanks for having me on, man. Take care.
Yeah, that's Bill Bender from the Sporting News. We take a break. When we come back, we're going to Europe. We're going to Berlin. Our guy, Jarbo, he's standing by. He comes your way in just a minute.
Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Available locally on your radio dial as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, it's easy to stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20 plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
Hi, Hi, folks. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I hope your new year has started out in a great way. I think we're all relieved when the holidays are over and life returns to normal. And normal means that special gift-giving occasions always roll around. Over the last 5 decades, we at Russell Brothers have helped thousands of Memphians turn those special occasions into truly memorable celebrations when a small box of exquisite jewelry from Russell Brothers is opened. Beauty, quality, value, and service are what we have offered to our friends and customers for so many years, and all of that is wrapped together in the stunning jewelry you'll find at Russell Brothers Jewelers. Whether you're looking for a very important piece of jewelry for a big occasion, or perhaps just a trendy, whimsical piece to make her smile, we can help you. Remember, beauty, quality, value, and service are our offerings to you every day for every occasion. Come see us at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We're going to Germany. Oh my gosh, I just saw pictures. Jarvo, you look so good in Berlin. Uber Arena looks pretty good. Is that Marc Gasol I see on the stage there?
That's right. They're doing an NBA Chalk Talk in the hotel right across the way from Uber Arena. And they're doing a Chalk Talk with Michael Wallace of Grind City Media. Marc Gasol, who played for the Grizzlies, is with a 2-time All-Star in Memphis, and also Brevin Knight, who was on the telecast. It was the color analyst on the Grizzlies and also played for the Grizzlies for several years. So they're it's a big sponsor event. They've got a lot of people here from Memphis Tourism. They've got people here from German companies that have interest in Memphis and that have businesses in Memphis. And it's a big hoity-toity affair, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
They got all kind of hors d'oeuvres and all this kind of stuff, something that this boy from Memphis don't know anything about. But I'm definitely partaking of it, and it's a really cool deal. They're blowing it all out here.
Well, obviously, you know, you're a part of the hoity-toity, my friend. You're not just staying.
Oh, I don't know that.
You're not just staying in Berlin. You're going to London after this
yes,
game.
we are. After the game tomorrow morning, we're going to jet back to London. I think it's about 800 miles between Berlin and London. Notice I say Berlin. I'm starting to pick up the accent a little bit. But no, man, it's really something. We did some tours yesterday. Of course, our hotel.
So you were telling me you and Emily took a tour yesterday that was like mind blowing.
Oh, just totally. The city is just something. You know, we toured where the Berlin Wall is. We're only about 100 yards from the Brandenburg Gate, and that's just a little bit from a stone's throw, to use a term where they said Gorbachev took down this wall and they started pecking on the wall. And, you know, that was 1980. So it really wasn't that long ago. So the city, all you see of Berlin is really a lot of the old part and a lot of the part that was torn down and bombed out in the war. But this is a relatively new city. It's got all kind of new buildings everywhere, Uber Arena and all kind of things that are just mind-blowing. And, you know, it's a typical European city with a great transportation. The train station is ultra-modern. You go all over Europe, and it's really something to see. It's not like what you see on television regularly. This is an ultra-modern city here, and it's just something to see where they had the city just split into, you know, East Germany, and you remember that, Dave. Everybody hated the East Germans during the Olympics.
Have you gone through East Germany?
Oh yeah, it's just like, you know, you just walk across the street now, but they do show you portions of where the wall was, and I mean they had machine gun turrets up. I mean, if you try to leave, and it was Soviet run. The Soviets actually, they're the ones that took most of the losses because the Soviets took Berlin, and once Berlin fell, that's when Hitler killed himself in the bunker
Right.
along with Joseph
Right.
Goebbels, and they took like I don't know how many millions of people, lost their lives in that from the German side, but or hundreds of thousands rather. Yeah, it was just a terrible war, and we went to a couple of museums and a couple of places that outlined how the battle went down and all this stuff, and they've done a really good job of, they don't forget their history, they don't whitewash it, they tell you, and they try to say that this was evil, that what is going on here, but now they have risen from the ashes to be another one of the world's capitals. This city is 3.8 million people, and it used to be like 9 million. So they're still coming back in population, but 3.8 million is pretty big.
It is.
You ask me.
All right, I've got to ask you a little bit about, since you're there, the incident with Vince Williams yesterday and Ja, the talk about a house in Miami, which is a place you love to go.
Yes.
And what you think is going on with Ja and why he's not playing, because they took him there to play. And then I thought between the NBA pressure and Nike pressure that he would play in the game, but he's not playing today. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody's seen the video, verbal altercation, if you want to call that, between Ja and Vince Williams on the practice court yesterday. And
were you there?
No, I was not there. We were taking our tours then. And it was we saw Checkpoint Charlie too. I forgot to throw that in. But some of it is it teammates just every time teammates get into battles all the time, or is it that Ja, why aren't you playing? And Ja saying, hey, look, I'm here, but he's not playing. So that's kind of frustrating for everybody. And how long this saga is going to last? It's the NBA. The NBA is all about drama. And we have not really had a whole lot of drama in Memphis. Now we're getting some. So as far as the house in Miami, Michael Wallace of Grind City Media, who I do a show with, Grisbeat every Wednesday, said that Ja had been talking about buying a house in Miami for a while, and that the deal just closed this past week. And so that news came out, but that had been in the works for a while. Does it mean something? It could, because a lot of people think Miami's going to be the landing spot. But the deal is, what would the Grizzlies get back?
Right.
And everybody here that we talked to said, well, we love Ja, but the Grizzlies shouldn't give him up for peanuts. And,
do you think if they didn't? Do you think if they didn't, that there would be a way to resolve this between the team, front office, teammates? We saw the Vince Williams thing. Could there be peace and Ja become a productive player again in a Memphis uni?
Anything is possible. Remember, this is the NBA. It's all about drama, and everything that you see and a lot of what you hear is not exactly what's happening. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Now, there's been all kind of talk like he's already gone, and a move could happen. I mean, he could play in the game in London against Orlando, but he may not. We may have seen Ja in his last game at home in a Memphis uniform. That is a distinct possibility, and it may be, it'd be the leader in the clubhouse right now. But like I said, if the Grizzlies don't get what they think they should get for him, he'll still be in a Memphis uniform. And remember, Jimmy Butler requested a trade from the Heat before he finally went to Golden State, but he still played. And then he finally got up out of there, and it was because the Heat finally found, something that they could use in the trade for Jimmy Butler.
What would they use?
Still up in the air.
What would they use for this trade? I know that I've seen matching salaries, and they're talking about Terry Rozier is in jail, isn't he? I mean, how do you work this thing?
That is not possible. But they're talking about Tyler Hero, and I could see that, but you'd have to throw something in there plus a draft pick or something.
You'd have to get at least the first, wouldn't you?
You would think, and everybody saw what happened in the trade. Trae Young from Atlanta,
right?
And they said, "Man, he went for peanuts." Are the Grizzlies willing to do that? I don't know. The Grizzlies have, and also here's another thing to think. They just released the injury report yesterday,
and
it's like everybody's 4 to 6 weeks again.
Well, no. They're saying that that Pippen and Brandon Clark should probably play in the next 6 weeks. They're saying
In the next 6
Edie
weeks.
will be reevaluated in 6 weeks.
Okay, so you said 6 weeks. They should probably play.
Right.
Well, they said job was questionable, right? And then he went from questionable to almost like straight out. They can dangle that thing in front of you and all the way to the end of the season, which means this is just a creative way to tank to get the best draft pick you can get in what is expected to be a loaded draft this year. And there's a lot of great players at the top of the college ranks that are eligible to be drafted. So,
So you
know,
think
this-
Memphis will not field their full team?
I don't.
But by the end of this year, no.
You know, if they don't, if something doesn't happen with Ja, or if they move Ja, I would think they might go ahead and say, okay, yeah, they're on 4 to 6 weeks. They're going to play 6 weeks or 3 weeks. They're going to play, and then next thing you know, it's going to be February, late February. Then it's going to be April, and the season ends April 12th or something like that. And so why? Why
Right.
would you do that?
Mm.
That's what I think.
Do you predict that Ja will be moved by the time you get back from Europe?
I predict that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen sometime this week.
Okay. Wow.
That's my prediction.
Wow.
If it's going to happen.
All right. Why do you think the Grizzlies in Orlando
And what
are...
defense is that? Oh yeah, the trade deadline, by the way, is February 5th.
Right.
Just to make sure everybody knows, so they could go all the way up to the trade deadline.
Why do you think...
And I don't know how this thing got sideways. I really don't, because the Grizzlies did everything they could to stand behind Ja when Ja had his little squabble for doing something that was not illegal, with the gun on the waving a gun on the internet. That is not illegal, but it's not the representation that they want to have. They suspended him. The league suspended him. But the team stood by him. And then the injury thing, you want to have your guys. It's great that he's a superstar, and he is an international superstar. We have seen Ja jerseys here in Berlin, Dave. And but if he's not playing, what? So what good is that? And it's just, I hate that it's come to this, but we'll see. It's going to get resolved here soon, one way or the other. That's for sure.
Well, I think his feelings got hurt when he didn't get extended, and Jaren Jackson Jr. did. I think that's the genesis of the issues that start with Ja. You be
Can I say
safe.
something real quick on that?
Sure.
They took the Grizzlies were going ABC. They were going 1, 2, 3. Desmond Baines was up first, and they gave him the extension, and then they moved him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jaren's came up, so he got his deal. It wasn't the full supermax, but he got his deal, and now Ja's got his deal's not up for 2 years. So they could go this time next year.
True.
And not and make
that doesn't mean he doesn't want it, though. That's doesn't
true.
mean
That is exactly
when Zach
true.
Kleiman said we want to see another good year, available year out of you. That doesn't mean you
Right.
don't hurt his feelings, especially when you're an immature kid like Ja appears to be. Jarvo, I got to let you go. We're out of time. I hope you have a great time. The rest of your stay in Germany and in London, and I can't wait to see you when you come back. Keep sending me pictures.
All right.
I love them.
I will do. Auf Wiedersehen, Dave. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Jarvis Greer from Berlin. That is our man on the spot. He's brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten. He's the best real estate point guard in town. He's the Ja. He's much more dependable than Ja. I shouldn't say that. He's like Tyler Brunson. How about that? Because that guy, he just got injured yesterday, but he comes to play every night. Who, by the way, best point guard, worst golfer. Why? Because he can never practice, because he's always working for you. If you said Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark Spensdorf, and you're talking about who's the best real estate point guard in town, you've got your man right there. He's the guy that they call Sheldon, because when you're selling your house, you want your house to go. You want the deal done, and he's the guy that can get it done. He does it all the time because he knows a lot of stuff, as he says, about marketing and positioning your property to get the most money for it and the quickest way to get it. He may also be known as Mr. Three-Putt, but there's nothing better than hitting that three-point shot. That means closing closing, getting to the table, knowing his clients are happy and satisfied. So if you or someone you know is thinking about selling their home, do what Sheldon tells people. Talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers. Just make sure he's one of them. Call him, 483-0546, or go to the website. It's simple. It says it all. MemphisRelocate.com. That's Sheldon at MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546. We make picks tomorrow. Andy Schiffman on the NBA will be busy, as we always are, and Jonah Dillon on a new Memphis quarterback and a whole lot more. That's tomorrow. Coming up next, that's Johnny Radio. Don't go anywhere. Have a great day.